Well, hello everyone. I'm here with Murad. As I'm talking, I'm going to just check the channel to make sure that we are coming across. Okay. Yes, it looks like we're through. I see Andrew Martin's in the house. Okay, so all good. If you can just let me know, Andrew, that you can hear me. Okay, so just give us a number one. So, so Murad, welcome.
Hello, Mel. It's always great to be with you. And yeah, I see people are starting to show up now. Someone called
Yeah,
YouTube user is saying greetings, so we are live.
excellent. Okay, that's great. Um, and I presume people can hear. Okay, uh, so we're doing a bit of a Q and A. I suppose principally to do with your translation um, and the publication of it. Anything you want to say to us? I suppose to begin with.
Well, I just want to tell the people that I have recorded a long video with Jay Smith, and it will be live maybe in February. So it's gonna be a very good video. And also, I see we have Lloyd in the house, so
Yes,
greetings to
hello to
Lloyd.
Lloyd.
Always great stuff that he does.
Actually, Lloyd, if you fancy joining us here, I'd be happy to send you on a link.
Yeah.
Let me just let me see if I can very quickly get find your email here. And no, that might be a second. But do continue talking, Murad, while I'm just occupied just for a moment here.
Yeah, I lost my train of thought, but yeah, so people they could just ask anything regarding my translation, and especially the people who have it. I want to know their opinion. What do they think of it? Is it strange for them? Is it surprising for them? I want to know their experience, you know?
Yeah,
So if
um,
anyone in the chat, they could just type that and we will start there.
yeah, yeah. I'd be curious to hear from everyone's experience of it. I've been dipping in and out. I haven't gotten around to a read through all the way yet. I kind of I need a good reason to to troll through the Quran as anyone who's ever read the Quran would kind of connect with. I see Bob Malik. It says I have not got it yet. Okay, you'd be a guest. Um, no, question there from Jay Diaz. Will you be a guest at Dr. Dawood also?
Is he talking about David Wood?
I
Yeah,
presume so. Yeah,
yeah.
I think it's more a question if he invites you.
Yeah, if he invites me, if most people if they invite me, I will come on because I do not have any biases against people in general, unless the person inviting me really sucks, like someone like I really hate. But in general, like 90% or more of the people I have no problem with. So yeah.
Yeah, uh, yeah. I'm hoping my audio is sounding okay. I got myself a new headset, but it's not exactly working properly because I'm hearing the audio coming back through my laptop. I'm not sure if people are hearing me correctly through my headset, but hopefully it's okay. Um,
Oh, you see here, Mel, there is someone called Daniel. He is saying, I finished it all today.
oh yeah, let me just put that up 1 second. Yeah, get
So
back to
Daniel,
here.
please, Daniel, tell me what do you think of it? What's your experience with it? You know,
Yeah,
there is a place in the Quran when it talks about al-haq and al-batil, which is like the truth and falsehood. And there is a certain word that no one ever correctly translate, and it's yadmaghu, meaning in English it will be smash its head, smash it over the head. So the truth will smash the head of falsehood. But everyone, of course, when they translate it, they will have it as just debunk falsehood or any other crap. But in reality, it smashes its head. And in my translation, I have it as smashes its noggin, because the word noggin is informal, and the word dimagh in Arabic is also informal. So you
uh,
see, this is the level of accuracy in the translation.
uh, what is the Arabic word again?
Yadmaghu.
Ah, okay.
So it has dimagh in it. It has head, but the informal way of saying head. You see?
Yeah. I have a question here from Bob. Uh, questions are: who is Ahmad in Surah 61:6, and if the original Muhammad was Jesus, then who is the prophet?
You see, Ahmad, you can read it in different ways. سيأتي من بعد رسول اسمه أحمد. It could be there will come a prophet after me whose name is Ahmad. This is one way of looking at it. Or you
Yeah,
could say a prophet who shall come after me whose name shall be most praised. And this
yeah,
could be the comforter, you know,
yes,
al paraclete in Greek, the comforter.
yeah. Um, well, I think within the Jewish tradition, they have the concept of two Mahmads. So if one arrives, then they expect a second one. And there's not a huge lot of difference between Ahmed and Mahmed. It comes from the same root. Um, so maybe the different form of it was used just to distinguish the two. But
Yeah, you
uh,
see, but the word hamada in Arabic, it means praise. But now I am trying to look at it from the original Syriac because it might mean praise, but in a very public setting. You know, like Jesus, he was in a very public setting.
yeah,
Lord, Laud, Lord,
yeah.
in a very public setting. So
Oh, yeah,
if this is true, then we are getting closer to the idea of him being Jesus originally. This name, this title.
yeah. Publicly lauded. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. In fact, there was a passage that I saw in the Bible just a few days ago where Jesus goes to speak in Capernaum, and then it says after he read to the congregation, it says everyone praised him. So that connotation of the Messiah being the praised one is there even from 2,000 years ago. Um, there's
Yeah.
a follow up question there from Bob. And who's the messenger of Allah in that the Quran talks about?
Well, you see, this you have to guess from every context. Like,
Yeah,
for example, it could be the Jesus in one context, and in
yeah,
another context, it could be the messenger angel. So this is not
yeah,
a human being. So you
yes,
will have to look at it within the context. You will just have to forget about Muhammad first so that you clean your head of the
yeah,
sin standard narrative, and then you will get closer to what the Quran is trying to talk about.
yeah, yeah. I'd agree. It has the potential to be Jesus. It has the potential to be someone contemporary. Has the potential to be an angel. There's a comment here about your translation. One of the best features of your translation, I think, is that sometimes it doesn't make much sense. I say this is positive because it shows the original text can't be just Arabic.
Exactly, exactly. And I'm very happy with this comment because you see, the reason the Arabic Quran is broken is because it's not entirely Arabic. It's a mix of Syriac and later Arabization. That's why even words like inna, for example, which we take for granted to mean indeed, well, not necessarily. In Syriac, it means something else. For example, the word illa, which means in Arabic, except. And Osama Dakdok, he says Allah is the God of except because everything has an exception, which
Yeah,
is right in Arabic sense. But this word in Syriac, ila, it means as for. So as for those people,
yeah,
da 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 da. You know?
makes more sense.
So yeah, so the entirety of the text, if you change illa from except to as for, all of a sudden you have a different context.
Yeah, what strikes me of late, particularly having gone through the linguistics to do with Malta, is that in the early days of the writing of the Quran, there was a bilingual culture, such that you probably are dealing with a hybrid language where people are alternating between Arabic and Aramaic, and probably don't even notice the difference. It's because they're so familiar with both, they can just switch from one to the other. So it's possible that the Aramaic is there simply because the people are just alternating between the two, rather than it being like uh, an originally Aramaic text translated into Arabic. It might be more. It was always a hybrid thing. Does that make sense, or is that possible?
It does not just make sense. It might be the actual situation. Because Christoph Luxemburg, he says that the clear Arabic tongue of the Quran means an Arabic Syriac Aramaic hybrid. You see?
Right.
So this might mean like an Arabic tongue, it means a hybrid of languages Syriac, Aramaic, Judeo Arabic, and Arabic. This final,
Right.
final Arabic.
Yeah. So, yeah. So when you talk about an Arabic tongue, you're really talking about this hybrid thing. It's not quite one or the other.
Yeah,
It's
because if we say, for example, a Latin tongue, then you
yeah,
might assume the language of Peru and also of Colombia and Brazil. It
yeah,
it has a certain sound, but
yeah,
it could be a hybrid of all.
yeah. Please. Um, let's have a look at this here. Finished slogging through Surah 2. It took a while to understand your work without punctuation. Question: Surah 254, is it saying Allah continually repents?
Yes, it does. And we made a video about this, and I told Jay Smith about this, and we talked about this when I collaborated with everyone that Allah actually repents in the Quran. He doesn't
Yeah,
just pray, he also repents.
yeah,
So, of course, I carefully chose this word, and actually also repentance in the Arabic language, it means uh, to change your mind and also cry. So you have to repent and cry and be sincere about it. So if you want to just stick with Arabic, then he repents.
So, uh, so you're saying that if you look to the Aramaic, it means Allah cries.
No, no, I'm saying in the Arabic, it's repent. Allah repents,
Yeah,
and it requires also crying. This is in the Arabic language. But if you were to look at it from an Aramaic sense, then it would mean that Allah changed his mind.
right. Okay. Yeah, yeah. Got it.
So the Arabic language, it strictly turned it into repentance. But this is
Yeah,
what the Muslims will hide because they would say relent and stuff. They will never tell you that Allah repents, just as they hide that He prays.
yeah. So, in a way, the stupid meaning of it in Arabic could be alleviated by admitting that there's an Aramaic influence there, but something that they're not willing to admit to, I presume.
100%. So they want to give you a reading that's close to the Aramaic without admitting the Aramaic, while shooting Arabic in the foot. They want everything. Well, it can never happen. You either accept the Aramaic reading with the Arabic, uh, and then all of a sudden, then you have to listen to Christoph Luxemburg. You have to listen to Christians and Jews so that they tell you what the Quran is talking about, or you will just put your head in the sand and say that it's Arabic and it doesn't make sense this way.
Yeah,
This is the idea.
yeah. Let's have a look at this one. In Surah 2174, you wrote belies. Did you mean that or bellies? I'd say it's probably belies.
Belie means fail to give the true impression of something. This is al-mukaththibin, so the
Yeah,
belying ones.
yeah,
That's why I chose it, because um, this same word in other contexts would be lie. So lie and be lie, we are retaining the same wordings and the same sound. You know.
yeah. Uh, Here, um, Muslims always tell us Jesus was saying Muhammad will come after him. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
so
that's what they say. Yeah.
yeah, it can make sense if you go back to the Jewish understanding of Muhammad. Um, and actually, there was a little bit of pushback on this because I think a lot of people think that the current Jewish understanding around the Messiah is the same as what it was in the 7th century, but it keeps changing over time as they kind of deal with the reality of history and the way things pan out. But I think how Jews understood the Messiah in the 7th century is our first port of call, I think. Um, okay. I'm curious about what words cannot be Arabic, even though you found an Arabic meaning for them. I think eligibles is one. Look at 2932 together with a Christian. Any thoughts on
29.
that one?
I will see Surah 29, 32. So what's the problem? He's eligibles.
Yeah,
He doesn't like the word, but you see, this means qualified or eligible. This word
yeah,
ahl. If you want to go for a job, then he will tell you, the person will ask you, are you qualified? Are you ahl? This is
yeah,
exactly the word.
yeah,
Yes, it later morphed into family and stuff, but it's not just people. So you could say um, the family of the scripture. It will be better because this will be the family of Abraham. But saying people of the book is kind of clumsy.
yeah. Um, Bob Malik says, I'm sin free now, thanks to you, sir. We're, I think we're both
Excellent.
very happy about that.
Yeah, excellent.
Uh, there is another comment here. Perhaps you want to comment on. I have an interesting case. The word deen in the Quran has two different meanings: conviction, as in judgment, which is of Semitic origin, and the other meaning religion is Persian.
Yeah. So deen in Arabic, it just means conviction.
Yeah,
So conviction meaning positive conviction and negative conviction.
yeah,
But if you want to go and create the foreign Quran translation, then you will have to use religion and judgment depending on the context. But then we
yeah,
will know that this one is Persian, this one is Aramaic, so on and so forth.
yeah. Just while I think of it, When I was looking at the Malta connection with Noel, he mentioned that the word dawa in Maltese means curse. Did you get any sense of that type of meaning in when you were doing the translation?
Well, you see, da'wah, in my translation, I have it as evoke with an E, not
Yeah,
invoke. So you can evoke a curse if you like.
yeah, yeah,
It's possible. It's one of the meanings.
yeah, yeah. I'd say it's on the same level. And we have a look here. Uh, Popular history regarding audio issues. I've had problems with audio. Found updating drivers helped a lot and limit dropouts and channels not producing audio. Okay, that's more a technical issue. No.
Lloyd says that Deen also it means law in Hebrew, of course, which is correct.
Yeah.
But you
Let's
see,
see
if
what
you look at it from a strictly Arabic perspective, then it means something like debt, like you being in debt and deserving conviction.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting how so I trying to think about this under conviction and law. I suppose there's a close connection there, isn't it? Uh,
Yes, there is, but a law you could either be right or you could be wrong. But with
yeah.
negative conviction, you are only wrong.
Yeah.
So it's closer to doom in the Arabic only perspective. That's the idea. That's what Muslims will hide.
Yeah. And Mobus. Let me see if I'm missing anything here. Uh,
We have John Lee in the house here.
who's that?
John Lee.
Oh yes. Let me see. Um, making sure I haven't missed any comments. So apologies if I miss anyone. Uh, um, so John Moore. Just looking at in time of Muhammad, you realize he he is only has a name Muhammad. If Muhammad was named, why nobody in his time, not any of him companions, had named Muhammad? Um, Good question. I'm not sure exactly when the name Muhammad became a popular one because we only got the inscriptions. All I can say is it's really the 730s onwards is when you start seeing Muhammad showing up, or actually Mahmed, because it can't even infer that it's Muhammad even in the 730s. But let's see, just making sure I didn't miss anything here. Another interesting fact is virtually every Persian word borrowed into Quranic Arabic didn't directly come from Persian, but was mediated by Syriac. It's a strong geographical indication. I think that's an excellent comment there. That's a massive clue in terms of the story of how it came about. Um, um, Let me see. So I see. Finally, I see John Lee's message there, top of the morning. Are you still with us, Murad?
Yes.
Yeah, just checking. Uh, Indeed, in Semitic languages, it had strictly a judicial connotation that we would Dean need to expand the picture to non-Semitic languages to get the full Quranic picture. Agree.
I've also added the link if people want to get the translation and they didn't before, so they could check this out. And
Did you
also,
did you
yeah,
did you say you're going to share a link?
yeah, I have dropped the link in the chat.
Oh, brilliant. Okay. Does it make any sense for an Arab to take notes quickly by leaving out dots and squiggles? That would be the French explanation for the early manuscripts' undottedness. Have you ever done that, Murad?
No, no way, no way. Think about it. You have some dots in the English, right?
Yeah.
No matter how quickly you will take notes, will you leave out these dots?
I would think not if you want it to be clear.
No way. Even
Yeah.
let's say any name. If someone could tell me any sentence, and some of the words in English it has dots, will you skip these dots because you're trying to be quick? Never. The
No.
reality is these dots, they were not there because the text was readable without them, because the text was not Arabic. And then we have multiple layers of Arabization. As
Yeah.
Christoph Luxemburg says, it's 5 layers. So
Yeah.
first you got the Syriac, and then it morphed into the Arabic text, which is the Hijazi script, and then you got the Kufi script. So you can actually trace all of this. It's an act of translation. The Quran is kind of translated, it's not
Yeah.
original.
Yeah. And I think some scholars have said that even when dots are being used, they're used inconsistently. They don't always use them where they should. Um, it took a long while for them to be strictly used in every single case. So this one here, I think we've addressed this multiple times before,
Yeah.
but for Khan,
Furqan in Arabic, it has no meaning. You see? But in Syriac, it means redemption.
yeah,
And it is very much related with Moses redeeming his people out of Egypt,
yeah,
creating the route in the Red Sea.
and I would add to that referring to someone as Al Furqan would suggest that they have a messianic status because it's the redeemer essentially.
Yeah, like Omar al Farouk.
Yeah. Do you have any thoughts on the common root for Hawariyun, Hawariyin and the white-eyed virgins of Surah 52:20? I see in your 52:20 you've chosen not to translate the words but put uh, two question marks.
Yeah, the root for the disciples of Jesus in the Quran and the so called white eyed virgin is one root. Can you believe this?
Wow.
So, Hawariyun is the same as Hur. This word doesn't have a clear meaning in Arabic.
Yeah.
But in Syriac, as you know, they are not virgins, they are not women, they are just grapes that are translucent, or
Yeah.
uh, and this means that the Al Hawariyun, which is the disciples of Jesus, were translucent beings. They were very much revered.
Yeah.
Lloyd is backstage, by the way, Mel.
Oh, is he? Okay. Let me see if I can see where he is. uh, don't know how to get him here. Uh, no, don't see him here. I can't. I'm. Oh, here. Oh, here we are.
Hey
How's
everyone.
it going, Lloyd?
Hey there.
Well, thank you. How are you guys doing?
We are good. How are you?
No, well, moved and getting set up. Hopefully, we'll have less and less to do. Still have a few boxes around, but otherwise, I'm great. Good to see you both.
Great to see you.
Excellent.
I can barely hear you. I'm having
Sorry
problems
about
with.
that.
It's to do with my headset. I can be heard, but I can't hear the audio through my headset. So I'm only hearing it through the laptop. So it's It is what it
Oh,
is.
yeah, I've also got an unconventional setup since my move, so my mic is in an awkward place right now. But yeah, is this better?
Yeah, I can hear you better now.
Yeah.
I've turned up my volumes, my end as well. Let me
Yeah, I'll try
just.
and fix that. You know, while you guys were speaking, a couple of thoughts came to mind. Do you know there's a passage in the Quran that's very famous, obviously. You know, where the Muslims accuse the Jews of changing or modifying or corrupting the Hi Dragon, welcome. Of corrupting the Torah, right? And recently I've been doing a lot of work on the Septuagint and versus the Masoretic. Now, technically, the Masoretes started what in the 500s, 600s, so they kind of roughly contemporaneous with Islam. And then, of course, you've got another group called the Karaites, who were, shall we say, Protestant Jews, right? They were Torah only Jews, let's say, to simplify, perhaps oversimplify. So they didn't believe in any external authority; they would only believe in the Bible, right? Now, these guys, these two groups who created the Masoretic text, this is from what the 700s to the early 1000s, early 11th century. They introduced the formalization of the dots, the vowel dots. I think it's called the Nikesh or something into the Hebrew, and
Wow.
this kind of is around at the same time as Islam. There's a lot of parallels here.
Yeah.
Now, the Karaites were obviously so there seems to be there's a lot of changes between the Septuagint and the Masoretic, what they call the Masoretic text, because in many cases the the divinity of Jesus, the miracles, and various other things that showed that he was worshipped as God are altered or removed entirely from the Masoretic version, because obviously that's the interpretation that the Jews had. They did not see
Yeah.
Jesus as God. And the more I read through this, the more it seems potentially the Quran is actually saying to one group of Jews, because remember, even Odon speaks of there are two groups of Jews, the good group and the bad group. And they're saying, but you guys corrupted the Bible, because if you compare the Septuagint to the Masoretic, you're going to see in many cases significant differences.
Yeah.
So Saint Murad, does that I haven't given a great explanation or a very clear one, but does that seem to hold any water for you?
Well, I never knew that the Jews also made this same thing with the dots, and then you said
Mhm,
naqsh, but naqsh in Arabic also would mean inscribe. So maybe these dots were kind of inscriptions or something,
mhm.
and it might be getting us closer. But this is what happened with the Arabic. So
Yeah,
you
and
have
then
this
you
guy
mentioned
called Sibawayh from
and you
Iran.
mentioned Judeo-Arabic. Now, these Karaites were often
Yeah,
accused of being Jewish Muslims. These guys were heretical Jews. They also, when they were doing the translation, they were heavily involved with the rabbinic Jews in the translation of the new Torah that they were creating, taking it away from the Septuagint, creating a new Jewish translation, right? This Masoretic, and they had translated their own versions of the Torah based on Quranic tradition. So I presented a couple of papers on my channel a couple of times now recently. So these guys also were writing Torah scripts in Arabic, and they were writing Jewish stuff in Arabic, and they were writing some Arabic stuff in Hebrew. So and these guys were very much involved with the Muslims, and in fact, the papers that I've read hint that the Muslims seem to have created the conditions for the rise of this particular group, which went against mainstream Judaism. What are your thoughts here?
Do you know one thing? One consequences of that would be that only a tiny amount of people could have followed what they were up to, because you had to be multilingual, you had to be comfortable with Arabic and Hebrew script and vice versa, and as well as know the scriptures. There's not too many people that have that level of ability at that time. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to assume that literacy rates were fairly decent. I don't go with the skepticism of those that say like 10%, 10% of people could read and write. I don't go that far, but even still, even with high literacy rates, there would, I think, there would be only a tiny amount of people, so they could pretty much get away with anything because no one of the ordinary people could see what was going on. That would have been completely hidden from them, I would have thought.
Yeah. So you've got a Jewish group that is translating the Torah, that is neck deep in Islam, is fully fluent in Arabic, and a bunch of other odd coincidences that I hadn't come across before that are surprising me. And there's the papers I'm looking at are both like under 4 years old. So it's a lot of new research that is only now coming to light.
Yeah.
This is very new to me. I did not know about this before. So it might, uh, in the future, might be like a Rosetta Stone to crack the whole thing. But
Mm.
I didn't know about this before.
Yeah, there's, for instance, I was reading in various sources now. Now the dots started apparently in the late first century or something. You started to see introductions, but what was made clear to me from some of the what I was reading is that if you go if you go back a couple of thousand years, right, BC era, those Jews would not be able to read modern Hebrew because they wouldn't know what the heck's going on. The script is different from Proto Hebrew or whatever, Proto Hebraic to the modern script, and then with the dots, they wouldn't be able to understand it. They wouldn't be able to actually read it. So you're looking at an evolution that happens, 600 BC onwards, or 600 AD onwards, that started earlier, but I mean, started in the second century probably, but it really solidifies in the seventh century, contemporaneous with Islam. So it's really some very odd events here that need further investigation.
Just something else that I have to give credit to AJ Jukes for spotting is that he was able to identify the Pompadita was in the
Yes.
heart of Baghdad,
Mhm.
in the original round city, and you can actually still see that round city on a satellite image. But
Mhm.
what's amazing is you have the caliph living inside this round city, and there are about 10 very important Jewish academies all within that small area of like 1 square mile. So you can imagine how the Muslims and Jews are interacting with each other in very close proximity.
Correct. And many of them would cross train, and some of them moved, became converts. I mean, I think there was something like 12, and I think they only identified one or two. So yeah, so we don't know what happened to them. There is rumor that these were destroyed, or Islam took them over and eventually destroyed them or absorbed them.
Yeah. I would say a lot of Jews converted to Islam over the centuries because there was a huge population of Jews in Iraq, for example,
Right?
and they didn't just all get killed, and
Yeah.
you know,
And these
and they didn't
Karaites
become
were very
Christians
much
as
in
far as we
Iraq,
can tell.
and they were also very close to the Jews in Jerusalem and other places that were doing the new translation of the Hebrew scriptures. There was a lot
Yeah.
of cross sharing from the rabbinic Jews in Israel with those Jews in Iraq, which is again lots of parallels here that are fairly new to me as well.
Yeah.
But
I
do you
don't know
think
if it was you, Lloyd, that mentioned this to me, but when the Jews from Iraq and from Yemen moved, as it were, home to Israel after the 1940s, they they had a hard time being accepted by other Jews who weren't Arabized. They viewed them as Arabized Jews and they saw them as very different. It's quite it's kind of a
yeah, I
recent
can't
thing, but
remember, but there's a few things that yeah, I just don't recall enough. But do you think that the Quran could be accusing one group of Jews of corrupting the Torah, meaning that they knew the Septuagint, now they're looking at this new translation, this Masoretic, and they're going, hold on, these are different. And I mean, there are some significant differences. And they're going, hold
yeah.
on, you guys have changed the scriptures. We had the Messiah, but now it's a nobody because it's missing or altered in this new version. Do you think that could have some sort of validity?
I think that makes a lot of sense because it would explain why Jesus is later dropped in the Islamic tradition, and yet in the Quran, Jesus has a central position.
Hmm.
He's kind of he's explained away in the tafsir. Essentially, that's my understanding.
Well, if I
What do you
could
think,
add
Murad?
something, yeah, in the Quran when it says يحرفون الكلم عن مواضعه, it's exactly that they take the wording, not just the word, the wordings, they take it and throw it all the way to the edge. It's a very strange way of saying things, I know, but I kept it this way in the translation. So they take the word off the center. So, for example, a word has like the conventional meaning, but it has fringe meanings. So the Quran is saying that they take the words from its conventional orthodox meaning to give fringe, weird meanings. Not that they are changing something. And it says that it does that through its situated places. So the place where it's written. It's a strange way, but this is why I took all the time to try to crack exactly the
So the
wording.
Karaites were making their own versions of the Torah, their own variations in Iraq, in Baghdad, and so on in those areas, which differed apparently from the Samaritan Bible differs from the rabbinic version. So the place could be. Do you think the place could be like Iraq, and the variant could be these Karaites who were? I mean, it seems to be there's a possibility, at least to me.
Linguistically, going with what the Quran is saying, there is this possibility. That's what I'm saying.
And they're pushing the context because they're trying to remove Jesus from the context, right?
Yeah, it definitely has to do with the context. It doesn't mean that, like Muslims, they understand it that they threw whole passages or something. No, it has to do with the wording, and it gives fringe understanding, gives weird understandings.
Okay, one example, for instance, in one of the Psalms, 22:16, 22:13, it's been a huge issue, and it was only recently clarified, where it says that, for instance, we have in the Septuagint, they pierced my hands and my feet, which is obviously a prophecy coming hundreds of years before Christianity. They pierced my hands and my feet, right? Which we know from Jesus on the crucifixion. However, when it was translated in the New Masoretic, it says, like a lion, my hands and my feet. And people are going, huh? And when Mal, I finally understand what you meant about these couplets that have to match in the Torah structure, in the prose. And they explain it, and they said this is a violation of every linguistic rule in the Torah, like a lion. And it was eventually, a lot of people dismissed the Septuagint because apparently it didn't have any kind of Hebrew backing because it's not original, it's a fake, etc. Then it was discovered, not the Dead Sea Scrolls, but other archives have also been found, like the Dead Sea Scrolls, and they found an earlier copy of the original Hebrew that was word for word what was in the Septuagint. So the earliest fragment we have supports the Septuagint and actually says, no, it was pierced my hands. So does that make any sense, Murad? Where you've got this weird context, this weird change because they made a slight change to the word and it corrupts the meaning. So they
Yeah,
pushed it. Yeah.
what you are saying is closer to what the Quran is saying. That's why when it says al-kalim, this word I do not know. No one cracked when they translate the Quran. It's not kalimat, it's not kalam, it's kalim, meaning the wordings. So they take the wording and then they try and manipulate it through the context.
Well, they
So
changed one letter in this case, one letter, and it completely alters the meaning. And in
yes,
other cases, they removed whole sentences.
yes.
Yeah,
So it makes sense. Yes. But it's just
I
that
do.
it's new to me, so I'm still processing what you're saying. But I like the idea.
Thank you. Yeah.
Uh,
No?
a kind of a relevant thing with all of this is that apologies, I don't remember the exact year, but roughly I think it was 11th or 12th century in Spain. There were a lot of Jews converting to Christianity on the basis that they were convinced by the arguments around the crucifixion of Jesus fulfilling the prophecy of the Messiah being pierced, like what you had mentioned.
Right.
And it seems like that they changed the text to avoid that conclusion.
Correct. Correct.
So I think there's something there, and it seems to me like that Islam follows a similar tack at some point where there's a kind of a sense in the Quran now, at least in terms of how it's interpreted, that Jesus wasn't crucified but only seemed to. it seems like it's it seems like it's
To avoid the
to
obvious.
avoid the conclusion that Jesus is the Messiah. But this
Right.
could be a later
And this
um,
is to a large
edit
degree what is
to it.
present in the Masoretic, it would seem. I'm still working on that, but that's how it would seem. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
The
and
only
congrats on going on
the,
with
yeah,
Jay.
the only time that I really had to look into the Masoretic versus the Septuagint was when I was looking at the Exodus. So this is one of my obsessions, is trying to pinpoint everything which has to do with the Exodus, who was the Pharaoh, and the places that the Israelites lived in, and so on. So you will find that the Septuagint is much more sensible and much more sane than the Masoretic. And even when it talks about places in Egypt, it has it more correctly than the Masoretic. So the Septuagint is definitely superior.
yeah.
Yeah, for many reasons. Uh,
There's a note here from John Lee. I've noticed that Allah gets called Aziz throughout the whole Quran. Then in 930, the original wording was Aziz is Ibn Allah. Any thoughts there?
Yeah, the word Aziz in Arabic, it means precious. Or if you write a letter for someone, you will say my dear, and then the name of the person.
Yeah,
So Aziz ibn Allah, this is something that you talked about, Mel, that
yeah,
maybe it's not Uzair but Aziz.
yeah. I do
So
think that's another synonym for Messiah.
hmm.
yeah, it means precious. Aziz
Yeah,
is the precious one.
it's very similar to Mahmadim, the lovely one, the
Yes,
desired one.
yes. In
Yeah,
Arabic, it's the one that you lust for. Also,
yeah. Uh, Now here's a follow-up question there. Question of why Jesus was put aside in later tradition is puzzling. The Quran is heavy on Christological debates. Why did later commentators remove Jesus from the picture?
well, personally, I think that the early movement, which we could just call the Hagarenes or what we know today as Muslims, they were actually waiting for Jesus. So they made their calculation and they said that Jesus is coming in this date. But of course, he never came back. That's
Yeah,
why they turned a 180 and then they said, you know what? He is not the Messiah. Yeah, he made some miracles, but that's because Allah gave him the permission and so on. So they turned their back against him when he didn't come in the time that they calculated. You know?
yeah, yeah. I would concur with that. And then they're left with a reference to a prophet, and then they have a blank slate to put all of their beliefs onto the figure of a person called originally Mahmed, but change it to Muhammad because they've dropped the messianic expectation.
But remember, having the Quran just in Arabic, as we do now, still is very problematic. When you get the full Aramaic version, then you
Yeah,
will even get much closer to reality. Because I found that also it has heavy Mandean influence. So Mandeans are the Sabians of Iraq, As-Sabi'a al-Mandaiya. So the
yeah,
Sabians, which the Quran mentions, and the Quran loves the Sabians. I mean the
yeah,
Sabians of Iraq, not the ones in Yemen.
yeah,
Because also there is some people confuse those the Sabians of Iraq or as-Saba'iyin of al-Yemen. But reality is these are two different letters in the Arabic. One with Sad, one with Sin. So the Quran 100% is talking about Sabians of Iraq. They are the ones who will be redeemed with those who believed.
And these are Gnostics who believe in John the Baptist, don't like Jesus
Yes,
very much. And Muhammad is called a Sabi several times in the Hadiths, and they try
yes.
to pretend it means one who started a new religion.
Yeah, but if you look at it when within the sin, the standard narrative, If someone accepted Islam, then he would ask him asabit, meaning, did you become a Sabian? But in English, they will translate it something as what did you say, Lloyd? You said the right thing. I forgot. Start a new religion.
Yeah, one who starts a new. Did you start a new religion? Yeah.
Yeah, but linguistically, asabit means, did you become a Sabian?
But then, I mean, that's pretty on the nose.
This is what's going on, because also Ramadan comes from the Sabians, and there is a lot of parallels with the Sabians of Iraq. And the Mandean, you will find the Mandean script in the Quran. So there are words that are Syriac, but especially Mandeans. This is something that I am finding out now, looking at the Syro-Aramaic roots of the Quran layer.
Like the word for mountain, um, if I can remember it,
Tur.
Tour, Tur.
Tur
That's
would be
it.
a small mount,
Yeah,
not any mountain.
yeah. But I think the way it's spelt is it's a
Yes,
Mandaic Aramaic, from what I've heard.
yes. So you have a
Just,
lot of influence
But
from these Sabians of Iraq.
yeah,
these
there's quite a few
Sabians.
questions. Quite a few questions. I don't know if you can give a quickish response to some of these, just because Daniel has been asking this a few times. But did you translate 91:15 correctly? There is that an aleph in the sentence? Is that an aleph? Maybe wrong.
Well, I do not have my translation at the minute, so if he could just copy paste what I have written, and I will tell him.
Yeah. Okay. There's also another one here. What do you guys think is the most serious accusation in the book? It talks about covering by the signs of Allah. Not believing JC is the Messiah, try to be unbiased Christians, as he says there.
No, it's in general denying the signs of Allah. So deny, and also ayah, it means a sign that's visible. So when you deny, you could be denying the signs that Allah gave to Moses. So the Quran is more primitive than you think. It's just a very general language.
Yeah. I would say in context, there's actually quite a lot of Jewish writings at the time that are using the word signs in the context of signs of the Messiah. There's actually even one of the writings is basically words to that effect. So it could be uh, what you call talking about people not accepting the signs of the coming of the Messiah, perhaps there. Um, just seeing if there's any. There's another one here. Murad, why did you transliterate this in two different ways?
Musa, because in Arabic it's written in two different ways. You see, Musa and Ibrahim is written in two different ways. So you see the evolution of the name in front of your eyes happening in the Quran. That's why
I
I say that Surah 2 is the oldest when it comes to how the writer or the scribe wrote the names. You see? So the standard narrative, when it says that the Quran should, the final part is the beginning part, this is wrong. Surah 2 is an independent work which is older, a bit older.
Yeah, and it tends to have Aramaic spelling rather than the Neo-Arabic spelling, correct?
All the Quran has this Syro-Aramaic layer, the entirety of it. So Surah 2 it's no different, you know.
Oh, uh, right. Did you watch Anti-Thritius Literature and the Quran on Saeed Reynolds' channel? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Unfortunately, I haven't seen it. I think that's probably something I need to watch. Did any of you see that by any chance?
I did not see it either.
No. Well, we'll definitely get to see it at some point. Um, Murad, how do Muslims generally react to your translation when they are actually being reasonable? Of
I did
course.
not have any Muslim talk with me about it. I just had Quranic Muslims, and these, of course, you could say they are not Muslims. But an Orthodox Muslim, no one showed up yet.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you considered, Murad, doing a website version of your translation, maybe a paid one for people who want to search a particular passage?
Well, no, but if I make a future translation which will have the Syrio Aramaic layer with the Hebrew and the Mandaean, all of this stuff,
Yeah.
then I will try to make the document much more interactive and much better than the way it is now. This was my first one, so that's why it's not very easy to navigate through. So
Yeah.
Mel,
Personally, I think
sorry.
I think a lot of people tend to go to websites if they're looking up passages. So I just think that's probably the way to go eventually.
Remember, Mel, that the Sabians also heavily associated with Haran in Turkey, just over the Syrian border, and they're known as moon worshippers as well.
Yeah.
I mean, and Abraham comes from Haran. They claim that his original religion that the Muslims are following is the religion of Abraham, and that's what they were looking for: a return to that original religion rather than the Judaism that he followed, which which would then lead us to Sabianism and moon worship.
yeah, and also um, the Quran when it says Nur and Munir, all over the Quran it means moonlight. So Moses, when he walked with his people out of Egypt, he was being guided by moonlight. So this is a very critical part in the Quran. It always mentions Nur and Munir. So even if it talks about the book or the scripture, it's giving you moonlight, lunar light, not just
Right.
any light.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that actually might have sent people down a pagan route because they might have interpreted in a pagan sense that maybe wasn't intended originally?
Um, I do not have an answer to that, but I remember something that I really want to share with you, and I want Lloyd to know about this also. The word tabarruj in the Quran, in the Arabic, we do not have a clear understanding of it. So it says to women, don't do tabarruj, meaning uh, it could be anything, especially in the Sharia. It could mean anything. Do not put nail polish, do not wear earrings, anything. But you know what the Syriac meaning of the word actually is? It's tabarruh, not tabarruj. So you will have to remove the dot, and then it will mean one thing only. Do not wear transparent clothing. Do not wear see-through clothing so that you don't see all the genitals and stuff.
Ah,
So even if so the Quran makes sense here because I don't think that anyone would like to go out with transparent clothing. You see? But
yeah.
this word got lost when it got Arabized. This is just one example.
We need to collect a list of these. I mean, this is how did Jay respond to your work? Because I mean, he should have been blown away. Right.
Yeah, Jay is really enthusiastic about this, and the video I recorded with him it will come out in February, so it's a good video. But as you see, the Quran really got corrupted. Like, yes, it does not have much context, but still, you will resurrect a lot of context just using the Syrio Aramaic layer. It will not be a Shakespeare work in the end, but still, it's much better than you have it now. Because also how they put the the numbers in the ayahs is wrong. So they cut it in a wrong way.
Yeah, but then again, remember they move the surahs around so they're not chronological, and they split the ayahs. So wouldn't that be then deliberate if they did with both?
I think the surahs they didn't necessarily change the order. It's just that there was no order, and then they jumbled them up together. And maybe the older ayahs, or sorry, surahs, are actually older. So when John of Damascus says Surah Al Baqarah, cow and women, he is talking about the actual old surahs. He has no idea about the later ones. You
Yeah.
see, so this is how I look at it, and how they
Actually,
put.
just
Yeah.
sorry. Uh, During the summer at the conference in London, Robert Kerr threw the cat among the pigeons by saying that the John of Damascus text to do with with Islam is an interpolation. It's probably an anti-Islamic interpolation by Christians. It could have been done a few decades or perhaps a century after St. John of Damascus, but he's pretty certain that it isn't from him. But it doesn't mean it's not still useful. But by the time it was inserted, it's probably the standard Islamic narrative has been fully embedded with just a few faint memories of what was there before, you know. So that's an issue we need to be kind of aware of.
I see here YouTube user. He says same with kelb being dog in the Seven Sleepers, but
Yeah,
again with the Aramaic, and this is something that shows you how the Quran got really corrupted.
yeah,
With the Aramaic, it will be kali'uhum, not kalbuhum.
yeah,
Kali'uhum, meaning their guardian or the one who guards the cave, which will be an angel.
yeah.
So this in because also when it says basatun dhira'aihi, in my translation I have it as having his forearms stretched, not four legs as they do it to make it a dog,
Oh,
because
yeah,
this word is only for a human,
So
only a
yeah,
human.
forearms, would that be like praying, like supplicating in prayer or something?
Yes, this is basit because it has this horizontal um, layer to it. So the way you did it, Lloyd, like a V, this is the way it says it.
yeah,
Basitun dhira'i. And this goes well with the original Syriac story.
yeah,
It's talking
Mhm.
about this angel.
yeah,
So this is the stupidity of Arabization. So can you imagine like the whole thing going through this stupidity?
Yeah, but Murad, you are proving single-handedly corruption in the Quran. I mean, that's crazy.
Remember that this work I am borrowing from Christoph Luxemburg when it comes to Syrio-Aramaic, because I only know Arabic, so I speak Arabic and English only. But when Christoph Luxemburg unpacks this stuff, I like because I really like what he's saying. I'm passionate about it, so I really understand it, and I try to translate that into English. So, of course, this is really proving how the Quran got corrupted. And also, once you see the Syrio Aramaic layer, then you cannot unsee it because once you get used to the logical uh, explanation of the Quran, you can't then dump it and go back to the illogical explanation, like dog here, for example, with the seven sleepers.
yeah. There's another example, and I don't know all the exact details, but the story of Abraham in the fire that you find in the Quran, that's
Mm,
based on a mistaken translation of the word Ur,
mm,
which would have meant city. So
yes,
Abraham was in the city, but then the word Ur, I can't remember which language it meant fire. And then the Quranic author is assuming that Abraham is in a fire instead of it actually being a city.
Right.
yeah, yeah. It
Yeah,
says farat tanur. The word tanur in Arabic has no meaning. But then they created a meaning for Tanur to mean an oven. So he was not just in a fire in the open, he was in an oven. And they took this from a mistake from someone who made this interpretation in the Talmud. But
Yeah.
it's in reality Afarat Ur, which is Ur al Chaldean, Ur of the Chaldeans.
Yeah.
So imagine the whole Quran going through this, uh, these like 5 layers of mistakes. First layer is the dots, second layer is the diacritical marks. Can you imagine? So no
And
matter
then
how much I try to revert this text to its original form, I will never be 100%
yeah.
correct. Some stuff
But
will just get lost.
but the crazy thing is then who do they get to do the tafsirs? Well, a bunch of Persians who don't even know the Arabic very well.
The Persians corrupted it way further because the
Yeah.
Persians they wanted warriors. And what will you tell a warrior when he will go and die? You will tell him he will have virgins. If you
Yeah.
tell him that you will just have translucent grapes and you might see Jesus and all of this stuff, he will never go and fight.
Hmm.
And even the Persians in their religion, they had this idea of having virgins in paradise. I remember reading this from Robert Spencer's book.
Yeah.
So in their religion, they had this link.
Yeah.
When you read Al-Tabari and any Islamic tafsir, you will laugh because this person 100% doesn't know what the Quran is talking about, and he like you feel like these tafsirs they are smoking something. They say stuff that's really unbelievable and has nothing to do with the text. And also, he keeps telling you, like, this guy said to this guy, and this guy, who is he, is a nobody. A
Yeah.
nobody. He is not quoting church fathers, historians. No, he is quoting nobodies who were
Yeah.
barefoot in Arabia, if they existed.
Saint
Yeah.
Murad, Hur is the plural word, right, of Hawara.
Yeah,
And Hawara is white, isn't it? Given the
yes.
context.
Translucent is it's better.
So translucent better than white.
Yeah,
Okay, but then this is why we would have Muhammad's skin was so white and all the whiteness stuff
Yeah.
because it's supposed to be attractive. I mean, because at least in the Encyclopedia of Islam, it speaks of the whiteness of the skin and and so on and purity, I guess.
yeah. When it talks about it, it means purity. It doesn't mean racism. So it means that the
Yeah.
guy was so pure, was so white. But also, what's even more interesting is the Quran when it says the disciples of Jesus, he says al hawariyun, meaning the white, translucent ones, because they were so pure. But this is something that the Muslims will never tell you. They will tell you the disciples. No, it's the translucent ones.
Yeah.
That's
The
very strange. Translucent people.
I think a key person that we need to refer to in all of this is, of course, Saint Ephrem. So he uses the image of pearls, white pearls, as an image for Jesus in his hymns, but he also uses as an image for Christians as well, and he uses grapes as an alternative um, depiction of the Christians being fed by Jesus in heaven. So they're being fed grapes.
Yes.
So it's kind of like the Eucharist. It has lots of layers of meaning. He
Yes.
doesn't always use the metaphor in
Also,
exactly the same way.
royalty. You're being served grapes while reclining on your couch, so it's ease and social status, right?
Yeah, like Ali Dawa, he was looking like a squirrel, but he thought that he is an Amir eating these grapes, being graped in the mouth with apostate prophet, if you remember that.
Yeah, yeah,
But you see also the Quran when it talks about faces will be white and faces will be black. Again, it's referring to the same concept that he will be very white, very pure, or he will be very black because he will be burned so much. So this has to do with the fire. When you burn something so much, This has nothing to do with racism. It will turn black. So this is the Quranic way of saying things.
Yeah. Uh, so would John Lee be correct here in what he's saying?
Yeah, حواريون, the radiant, radiance. Yes, it's a very positive way. And let me
Yeah.
tell you that the Quran, when it speaks to Jesus, sometimes it uses very specific words that it doesn't use for anyone else. That's why in my translation, I was very keen to really not use the same word everywhere, so that the reader he could sense and guess how the Quran is talking, especially with Jesus. So the Al-Hawariyun, they are the ones who are translucent, who are very pure. This
Yeah.
is what the Quran is saying.
See
But
this message here from a Syriac speaker. We have the words. I don't know if that 7 hour is meant to be pronounced horo.
Hawru,
Would it be
Hawru.
horo? For friends. So Hawariyun would mean Jesus's friends. So I think that could
well,
be
the
an
word
interesting.
awliya is how the Sufis describe themselves as friends of Allah. But also this translucent, wouldn't it be maybe a Gnostic concept where you are not a real body, but you are just a spirit? So you are, so in Gnosticism, the matter is evil. So the spirit is pure. So wouldn't that maybe be an allusion to being of spirit only?
It
Not
might
being,
be, and remember that also the Quran adopts a Gnostic view of Jesus. So the use of this word might also strengthen this idea. I have no problem with this explanation.
and the word awliya for friends, friends of Allah, the Sufis use, what's that story there? Awliya.
Yeah, but remember that the word wali in the Quran, it never means friend. This came in later. This is one of the words that evolved because wali, it means it has to do with administration. So if someone is my wali, then he is my administrator.
Hmm.
Ah, okay, yes.
Because in the Quran, Khalil is friend. So this is only for Abraham in the Quran. Al Khalil, he is the friend of God. But awliya, later it turned into friends. So actually, the Quran, if you read my translation, when it says don't take the Christians and Jews, or let's say the Nazarenes and the Judaizers, do not take them for administrators. Like, don't make them your boss. You see?
Yeah, but also
Oh,
don't
can
let
I
them do the work of Allah, because if you're the vice, the Muslims are the viceroys of Allah. They're here to do His bidding on earth. Don't let others do it. You do it.
This
actually
is, yeah. Yes,
can I
Mel?
point out something there about the administrators? So at the time of Caliph Walid, the Christians were still acting as administrators for the Umayyads,
Hmm.
and there was a transition away from that. They were trying to get out from under that because that the Christians were the ones that had the knowledge. So that kind of gives us a fair indication of when the Quran was written there.
Ah, okay.
More, we're talking 700s onwards rather than 630s.
Yes, this is correct. And when it says wali, it means like your boss, the one who administers your way of life. That's why the Quran then says, Hum awliya ba'd, meaning they administer their own affairs. It has nothing to do with friends. This is something that came in later. That's why today people think that the Quran is actually saying, don't take Christians and Jews for friends. But later with the Sufis, then it's the friend of Allah. So it's not wrong, but it's just in a different time period.
Yeah,
Very interesting.
I think
Wow.
this means that the Quran cannot, as it currently stands, cannot have been written prior to the 7th century. This, at least the final edit, you're talking the first half of the 8th century, at least, if not later, because that's when the transition away from Christian administrators in you know
If you
happening.
think of the word jizya mil,
Yeah,
you can never write this verse unless you have a caliphate. how can you write this verse when you were still a nobody?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the idea. So the Quran was written, I assume, during the Umayyad reign, and it was gathered and put together into one book during the Umayyad reign by the hands of Abdul Malik. Because we
Mhm.
have this one tradition that Abdul Malik says, I fear dying during Ramadan. I was born during Ramadan. I gathered the Quran during Ramadan,
Yeah.
and so on. So just having this, retaining this tradition
Yeah.
within the sin throughout all these years gives an indication that it's right. So it's Abdul
Yeah.
Malik and Hajjaj. Hajjaj also added the alifs, 1000 alif in the Quran by Al Hajjaj. That's why
Yeah.
we have to remove them now to try and get the Quran back to its
Wow.
original form.
This is a
Yeah.
whole new layer of insight, Murad, today. I mean, a whole new level of insights that even in previous discussions we hadn't heard. So, Mal, I mean, this is really fruitful.
Yeah. It's been good. We actually should get together like this maybe more regularly because when we start exchanging ideas and little snippets, I think that's when
I
we
mean, we're
start
finding
seeing things.
historical support for all of this, right? And building theses, I think, that are viable.
Yeah. But I think a key thing there is Walid was annoyed about the fact that the administrators for his system were Christians who wrote in Greek, and he was annoyed about that. He wanted Arabic to be central, and he wanted to move away from the Christian administrators. So for the Quran to be saying what Walid was saying is kind of a bit suspicious, you know?
Yeah,
It seems
as
like the Quran is speaking the words of Caliph Walid, from I think his reign started at 705 AD onwards. So
I buy it. It sounds very compelling, Mal.
yeah, and then the other thing that matches up with all of this is Ilke Lindstedt, who's an inscription scholar expert that lives in Helsinki. He has pointed out the earliest use of the word Islam and Muslim in an inscription is from the 730s. So again, that that kind of lines up with this a much later period
The century
than
after.
this standard Islamic narrative would have us say. Um,
yeah, and also the Crusaders, when they used to call them Saracens, I used to think that this is something derogatory. No, it it was still the times of the Crusades that they were never mentioned as Muslims. They were always Saracens. You see, and Saracens actually has two meanings. This is something that not a lot of scholars look at. They just say that Muslims because they were the destitute of Sarah. But if you look at it in Arabic, it will be Sarraqin, meaning those who continuously rob and plunder. You see, so
Pirates.
it's a pun. It has two meanings. That's why they were the Saracens.
so
Those who
basically,
are
the
one.
plunderers.
Yes, as-Sarraqin. It's not just
Mm,
Sariqin, meaning the ones who plunder once. It's
yeah,
Sarraqin, meaning those who continuously they keep on plundering. It has
yeah,
this continuity in it.
yeah. Kind of almost like the word pirates, or the connotation around pirates.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of,
Yes.
and that I can tally with that. Like that makes a lot of sense.
Caravan robbers, right? That's
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
yeah. Hey guys, I should call it a night here. I've got to.
yeah, yeah,
Now this is fascinating. I mean, let's do this again. Wow, Murad, fantastic, and Mal, some really good historical insight there. I mean, all of us are starting to converge. All of our work, you, me, Odon, everyone, we're starting
yeah,
to converge. It's
yeah.
crazy how this is happening from different directions, but we're all converging on what seems to be the same thing.
And it's no conspiracy. It's happening naturally because we are just looking at the facts on the ground. And if you converge, it's a sign that you're onto something. That's
Yeah.
Yeah.
true.
Now, Murad, this is awesome. I hope academia picks up what you're doing, man. I hope it grows because honestly, this blows the Quran wide open, blows it out of the water.
I'm very happy that you like this work, Lloyd. And believe me, if I get to make the Syrio-Aramaic Arabic translation, then it will really change everything. Because then you will not have Hunain, you will not have Mecca, you will not have Badr. All of this will not be in the Quran. Because this will be just mistakes from the scribes who copied the 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 original manuscript.
Yeah.
Uh, well, we're peeling back this onion, and you've just opened a whole new avenue. Right. So yeah, keep this up. Let's hope it gets picked up and grows, because this needs to become a mainstream talking point.
Excellent.
Um,
I hope so.
yeah. I think I think each of us will eventually get around to writing books on all of this, um, and that will help to get this out to a wider audience. So
Yeah, it's gonna take time. I think it's just gonna take time. It will
yeah,
happen, but with time.
Yeah, but Islam is starting to write its own epitaph, because the things they are doing, actions speak louder than words. People are seeing. I mean, what happened to this guy in Sweden?
Yeah,
To what's his name? I just remember forgot his name. But the guy that got murdered on a live stream after burning the Quran. I mean, I think everyone's going to start turning on Islam, and no one's buying that it's a religion of peace anymore.
yeah. You know what? I went on a Muslim website a few days ago, and it was all in Arabic. So most Westerners would not know what it's saying, and I translated it using I think uh, website translation, and discovered that the books of the month that they were all looking at were to do with uh, all of the Orientalists and what they're saying about the origins of Islam. It was massive, you know. I
Mhm.
shared a link there in the comments section of the channel a few days ago for people to take a look. But
Yeah,
they
yeah.
are
Okay,
paying
it's
attention.
the move, unfortunately.
okay. It's great to have you here, Lloyd.
Last comment, guys. Please buy 1,000 copies of Murad's Quran so he can get onto the Syrio-Aramaic. Please, let's buy a
Yes,
thousand copies.
exactly.
Thank you very much, Lloyd. Great to see you.
Yeah. Great to see you guys. Thanks, Lloyd, for dropping in. We must do it again. All the best.
Bye.
Bye.